what I'm calling this is the Grinch strategy here, Tamara.
You really want to pick one and do it well. This is What the Frac Troubleshooting Edition. We are breaking down marketing trends, strategies, and tactics so that you can do the fun stuff like be creative. And today we are talking about holiday product marketing. We are your fractional team. I'm Tamara.
And I'm Nicole, and we are going to break down how to get the most out of the holiday buying frenzy, how to test your theories and build your plan, and how to refine your systems. And all of this is based off of our fracking situation report. As always, Tamara, we always start with the fracking situational report because this gives us all of the insights that we need as marketers to really build a plan and make educated decisions. So do you want to start us off here?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as a marketing strategist, what I like to do is I like to put everything into this report, and then I like to reverse engineer it. So I like to start with my outcomes and then build my strategy around what I want my outcome to be, what I want to make sure to stay away from bad outcomes, and all those little touch points along the way, and important things like budget, which is Nicole's favorite thing to talk about. So Nicole, what are we breaking down today with holiday marketing? Who is our prime business that would be looking at this?
Yeah, of course. And this is really going to be looking at from a sense of, we work with a lot of SMBs, we work with a lot of startups, but are you a company that maybe sells a product? And although we are generally pretty niche down when we talk about these troubleshootings, I think that these can actually be a little bit more vague in the sense that, are you a company that sells a product? The holidays are coming up. You see it as an opportunity for one last sales increase before the end of the year, before your numbers go to your CPA and you start thinking through taxes and, P&Ls and all of that. You may have a physical location, you may have an e-commerce site, or you may have both, right? And so we can really look at this from all angles. And then maybe you've tried holiday marketing before, you haven't seen the results, you see all these other companies out there doing it and having all these amazing, campaigns. We just talked about the Starbucks Holiday Cup campaign. So you see all these other companies doing it and you ask, why can't we? Let's do some holiday marketing. So that's who we're really breaking it down for today. We're going to give you some questions to ask and some tactics to use with that. And really what I'm calling this is the Grinch strategy here, Tamara, because just like the Grinch, one of my favorite holiday movies, he takes all for himself, and it's all about him until he learns how to give to others. And I think that that's really the strategy that I think most SMBs and startups should be using during the holidays here. And we'll explain that a little bit more. But what are some of the outcomes we want to go through, Tamara?
Well, so if you're any business, you're going to be looking at probably three things. One is going to be selling product. Two is going to be generating leads so that then you can sell to them throughout the following year. And the next is really like your customers, right? This is a time of year to be thankful. You're going to be coming up with ideas to thank those loyal customers. And so that's really what I look at when designing holiday strategies, are my three prime outcomes. But again, you really want to pick one and do it well, right? If you're picking too many outcomes for the holidays, besides it being one of the most stressful times of the year for small businesses, you're gonna stretch yourself thin. You're not gonna get the desired outcome that you want, and you're gonna look at, holiday marketing as a complete flop. One of the other things I look at is bad outcomes, right? Like, what do you not want to happen? Well, one, you don't want to get lost in the noise. You don't want to do something that doesn't align with your values just because it's a holiday campaign and you really feel the pressure like you need to be doing something, and no return on your investment, right? So if you have no ROI, if you end up spending money and not making money during this time, that's a rough outcome. And all of these things are possible, right? And they're possible with good strategies, because this is just a rough time of the year. So Nicole, so now looking at this, how do you start designing your strategy?
The first thing we do is we start asking the right questions. And I think that that's always one of the first things we do on any type of troubleshooting, especially if you've tried holiday marketing before, it hasn't worked for you. Are you asking the right questions. So for me, the first question I always ask is this the right time for your buyer? There's different types of products out there. There's different types of buyers. And just because everyone in the world talks about Q4 as being the big buying quarter, or because it's the end of the year, doesn't mean that your buyer actually wants to think about your product or can think about your product and buy, during this year and during this time of year. And if you think about that, like, put yourself in the consumer's shoes. You have 10 million gifts to buy. You're spending a lot of money. You may not even be thinking about work or products that are related to that part of your life. And is it just too much for your consumers to think about during this time? And if it is, then maybe you should be using this time for other ways of promoting your company, whether it's building trust, building a brand. It is getting those opportunities open so that in the beginning of the year you can close them, right? And I think you need to think about your sales cycle. So this would be the first question I'd ask, which is, what is this the right time for your buyer?
Well, and it's so true. So like, just as an example, one of the last companies I worked with, like, we were product based for our most engagement, right? So the holidays weren't a time where even if I drove with discounts and, did promotions for, reducing price or things like that you'd normally think of for holiday marketing, that wasn't going to move the needle enough to be worth it. So I focused all my attention on thanking our customers and getting, them to recommend us and get new leads than any time on trying to get people to purchase something that they wouldn't purchase just because it was the holidays, right? And so it really saved all of our team time and effort, and our customers loved what we were doing.
Absolutely. I think that's such a great idea. So what would be your first question, Tamara?
For me, the first question is very broad. What is success? So there's so many different ways to succeed in holiday marketing, from building your brand awareness to growing your email list to building a community and driving sales. I mean, those are big things to do, and they all have different tactics to driving towards success, towards your KPIs that you're looking for, right? So what is success to you? You want to pick those, maybe put them in order, and then start going, okay, so let's build out our top priority, then we can build out priority 2, and if you can get to it, get to priority 3.
Yeah.
So that's my number 1. Nicole, what's your number 2?
And I love that success one, because I think that there's just so many different ways we can do this, right? So for me, no matter what that success is, I think during this time especially, I mean, we always ask if there's an emotional, if there's an emotional narrative or an emotional response that your buyers get from your campaign, or is there a time-sensitive narrative you can be telling? I think this is something that's very integral to marketing in general. But during this time of year especially, everyone is going to be sending out campaigns with sales and price decreases and things like that. And is there a way to add a time sensitivity to it or an emotional response to your campaign? And that will cut through the noise. It's really hard to cut through the noise, Tamara, right now in the holiday season. And during this time, we're talking about, $1.1 trillion of spend. It's a lot. But it also means that everyone is vying for that amount. So how do you add a little bit of extra things to spice it up a little bit?
Yeah, you're right. And you don't want to just do the traditional thing, which is just, cutting price and giving deep discounts and things like that. Because it really feels like over the holidays, it's just a race to the bottom, right? Like cutting prices. And that's absolutely not necessarily what your brand wants to be known for. And it also creates a really bad habit of consumers and customers only buying during the holiday time. And so if you can drive a behavioral change for your customers too, that's really important. So I love this emotional or time sensitive narrative, which changes how customers interact with your business.
Wait, so and you shouldn't be, other than some seasonal items or seasonal products, you really shouldn't be waiting till Q4 in the holiday season to make all of your sales anyway. And so if you are waiting, then maybe you should be thinking about holiday sales in a different way. But what would be your last question here, Tamara?
So my last question, and it seems similar to my first question, but it's actually totally different. So my first was what is success? How do you define it? My second question would be, what is your motivation for the campaign? And why it's totally different is what do you want to do? So like, again, I goes back to what I did this other company. Do you want to thank customers? Do you want to drive sales? Do you want customers to be recommending you? So what is your motivation? Why do you want to do this? Because again, if we talk about the holiday season, there may not be the best return on investment for what you're doing, right? So what's going to make you happy for doing this campaign?
Yeah, I think this is so important too, because when we talk to SMBs and startups, this holiday marketing could be just another campaign for them. Like, it's just another thing to do on top of the million things they're doing. So if you don't have a strong motivation, then like maybe you shouldn't be doing a campaign during the holidays. I don't know.
I really feel like, Nicole, like you and I, as we've been talking about this, and even like as we're going about it now, like just the thought of holiday marketing gives me, just a cringy feeling for some reason. And I know it's just such a big time, but I think it's because of the immense pressure that everyone puts on themselves in order to like have this winning campaign. And yet, you mentioned it before, it's the noisiest time to sell anything. So it's really hard, and we just, hope that we're telling, small businesses and entrepreneurs, like, don't stress out over this.
Don't go into the new year burnt. Why are we going into the new year super burnt? And I think that that's the point here, is like there are products and there are businesses that can benefit. It is proven that during this time of the year, people are more open to new brands that they haven't heard from or bought from before. So we're not saying it's impossible. It really is not impossible to break through that noise, but you need to be set up and ready, and you need to find a campaign that works for you, your values, that doesn't put you behind going into the new year. And that's kind of where the Grinch strategy comes in. So, Tamara, I know you have some small kids there, so you've probably been watching The Grinch. But I love this movie because it actually, tells the story of this Grinch who thinks about nothing but himself, goes and finds how to realize that being in a community, giving back can really bring a lot to himself and his happiness, right? And so it's the same thing here. So often companies go into holiday marketing all about me, right? I want to make more sales. I want to end the year on a high note. I want to do all of these things, right? And then they end up not seeing the results. And so the Grinch strategy for me is stop running campaigns that are about sales or about your company. Think about your consumers. Where are they at right now in this holiday campaign? Is there something that your product does that can, really help them, whether that's for the eco lover in their life, or it's for the hiker in their life, or, hey, we can make your life easier in the new year, whatever that may be. Think about your customer, right? Remember that customer. Then sales are not the only win, right? We could be talking about great PR because you're working with a nonprofit. We could be talking about building your brand trust because you are bringing people in and giving back to your community instead of taking.
Building your email list.
List.
That's a win, right?
Yes. And think about that. So here's where I want you guys to really think about this, is that something as simple as building your email list, Tamara, when you go into the new year, I know that you're not going in with cash in hand, right? Because it's not sales. But think about how much easier the sales next year are going to be. So when you get to Q4 and you get to holiday and you realize, oh, we've made our goal in sales, now we can run a more fun campaign and build it for next year. So basically, you're thinking through the Grinch strategy. The whole goal is setting yourself up for the next year to have a better, less stress, less burnt next year.
I love that. Anything that leads to less burnout for small businesses, like, amazing. You talk about too, like, giving more than you take. So with these strategies, like, it's about giving back to the customers as well. And so that's, are you thanking them? Are you thanking them for sharing the word? Are you thanking them for user generated content? There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can do it. And that's where, so now looking at the Grinch strategy, and Nicole, how you've structured this about like, it's not all about sales. What are the wins that you're going after? Then you look at the touch points that you want to hit with them, right? Like if you're thinking your customers, this is going to be really email based, right? If you're looking for new customers and growing your email list, then you really should tailor your campaigns and look at the content that you're putting out there. Don't just be putting out the same ads that you've been putting out all year, and don't just be putting out the same ads with, holiday colors on them, right? Like, yeah. Are you looking to educate your new customers, or are you looking to tell them about a new product? Like, really make it different if you're going to do a holiday campaign on social media. You really map out your touch points and how, like, towards the goal that you're trying to achieve. And if you can, look at ways at reducing your spend on social media if you're a small or medium-sized business, right? I don't know, Nicole, what your thoughts are on that, but like ads are just so expensive during this time and it's so noisy.
No, and this is a perfect time to try something new. Right, Tamara? I mean, this is the perfect time. Like you just said, ads are super expensive. Everyone's going after ads. There's a lot of noise out there. And so if you're going to test something new, now's the time. And maybe that is as simple as, instead of sending, a thank you email to everyone that you work with, maybe sending out more ABM, account-based marketing type gifts, where it's something that they can hold in their hands and they can wear, or they can put on social media themselves, user generated, right? Maybe it's an event, or teaming up with a local nonprofit that really could use a little bit of exposure. You can use a little exposure. It's maybe as simple as a holiday light event. If you have like a local brick and mortar shop, something free, put out some hot cocoa, invite everyone over. They can go around the community looking at lights, but then they're in your store. And once they're in your store, that is the piece that you want, right? You're building that trust. You're building that community. Try something a little bit new.
Yeah, outside the box. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I talk to, and it's like their holiday strategy is social ads. And to me, that's not a strategy. That's just a tactic. It's a tool that you use, right? It's what everyone should be using. But if you're looking at a strategy, it's like, okay, how are you driving success at the lowest cost? And during the holidays, ads is probably not your biggest win, right? It's going to be expensive. You have to be super crafty. But like what Nicole's mentioning about these kind of outside of the box tactics could have just huge return on investment for low cost. So It's an interesting time of year to play around there. But there are a lot of key challenges. And Nicole, what are some of the key challenges that you see during the holiday times?
Yeah, and I get why people are gravitate towards ads or social during this time of year, because there's so much on our plates as business owners, as small business owners. The end of the year, our own family challenges of like families coming to town. Maybe you're hosting dinner or whatever the case may be. And so you have your own challenges. There's a lot to do, and social and ads seem so easy. But with that being said, if you are sitting here today, listening to this episode and saying, oh, Nicole, I have to put together an event now, then maybe we need to take a step back and think about your processes and why you feel so busy during this time, and maybe set up for next year. Because at the end of the day, this is the perfect time to kind of explore, like we just said, look through different things, reevaluate, and that is where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. If you're not caring about ROI, then go ahead, run all those ads you want. But at the end of the day, we're looking at ROI, right? And so some of the things that we can try today to see if this is the right fit for you is thinking through a lot of what we just said, right? What's your sales cycle? So if your sales cycle, if your customers are not at the time where they should be buying at this moment, try ABM, try account-based marketing, try customer appreciation, and doing things that are a little bit more, hands-on touch points that thank your customers, so that when it's time for them to refer you, or it's time for their account to be renewed, it's an easier yes. at the end of the day, right? Maybe think through giveaways. This season is where people are spending and giving, and maybe they're not getting anything back, right? So if your key demographic of people is moms, let's say your key buyer is a mom. Well, the moms are really they're not getting during the holiday season, right? They're giving everything they have. And so maybe doing a giveaway where one mom
flyer over here,
right? I'm not a mom, and so I can only imagine, but maybe doing a giveaway where you pick a mom who gets a spa package or something, even if it has nothing to do with your product. You don't think that people are going to be talking about that or signing up for your email list, or, that's going to be something worth people's time to think about your brand, right?
And adding into the giveaways really quick, just because I've seen a lot of success with giveaway partnerships, and there's a lot of platforms that will actually help you with this as well. They'll help identify businesses that are similar to yours, that might have similar targeted audiences, where you can pay to enter giveaways, and you'll be giving away some product or something like that, and in return you'll be gaining marketing. So you'll be gaining some notoriety, maybe some press, as well as the email list, which is very valuable during these times. So that I've seen very successful this time. It comes with a cost; it's not free, but there may be a lot more reward to it.
Yeah, and when you're thinking about a giveaway, don't this is not the place to cheap out, right? You can do a lot of work on a giveaway to give away something like a $25 gift card. And at the end of the day, that's not going to get you the results that you need. So we really have to think through this. And a good way to do giveaways too is partnering. There's lots of events, especially for nonprofits now at this time of year. And every single one of them is looking for gifts and giveaways, whether it's for silent auctions, it's for goodie bags, all of those pieces. And that's a really easy way to just give some product, get some new eyes on your brand without having to do a lot of the work, and support a nice local, or nonprofit. So I would say also looking into those types of events where you're not doing a lot of the marketing work, but you're getting people looking at your brand and your product.
And going back to what Nicole said about the give and get, right? Make sure when you're doing giveaways or doing something like, gift bagging or something like that, that you do get something in return, right? Whether it's the email list, whether it's a shout out if it's a nonprofit, ask them if they can give you a shout out in their newsletter blast, things like that, right? You don't just have to give away product just to feel like you're getting in front of people, right? Make sure you're getting a get from it.
Yes, absolutely. Just because you're giving doesn't mean you can't get, right? We should be all mutually benefiting from all of this piece. Moving on to the next piece, buyer personas. So if we're talking through data, knowing your buyer, it's really the only way to know if this will work. It's the only way to build campaigns, whether they are holiday or other campaigns. And this is a perfect time to do something that can collect some data. You should be collecting data throughout the year, but at this point you should be updating your buyer personas. And you could do things like a fun holiday themed quiz where you get some information about your customer without asking them to buy, right? At this point in the season, it's really refreshing for customers to see something that they're not getting asked to buy. Some sort of entertainment. Once again, and I'm going to pair this with the next one, which is events. Giving away some sort of free event that doesn't take a lot of your time, but gets people into your brand without asking them to buy. Parents are spending a lot of money this season, maybe something that they can bring their kids to, or that's family friendly. And then you're building trust. You're learning about your buyer, and you're getting them into your shop. I think these are all things that we can think about all together. What do you think of that, Tamara?
Well, Nicole, how do I put this? Because what I like, and people can't see what we're looking at here, is the way that you broke things down. You broke things down into what we should be looking at when kind of planning out our strategy cycle, right? And you should be looking at data, you should be looking at marketing and partnerships. And the data, the sales cycle, and the buyer's persona, it's just so critical, right? If you don't have that foundation, then you're not going to know how to go about targeting the perfect persona, right? So building that out, having a template is just essential.
Absolutely. And so just to jump into the last one here, Tamara, samples and coupons. So I know we talked about discounts and we said you don't want to be the company that's always on discount, especially during the holiday season. You don't want people waiting for the holiday season. You don't want to be the cheapest in town. But there is a place for samples and coupons. And where I'm going with this one is, at the end of the day, when we're talking about success in holiday marketing, one success metric you can have is bringing more eyes to the product, bringing more people through the door. And like we said, there are tons of events, tons of goodie bags, tons of giveaways going on during this season. And so if you are short on time, or you're thinking, I don't have time or resources or money or budget for one of these campaigns, a really easy one is to do samples and coupons and kind of piggyback off of other people's holiday marketing and other people's holiday events. So, are there a few companies or small businesses in your town, in your neighborhood who are throwing these events? Can you come, set up a table, bring value to the customers they're bringing in, but also benefit from more people seeing your product? Can you give away samples so that when they experience it, they want more? Can you donate your product to a silent auction? These are all things, once again, we're giving, and then the business universe and the world will give back to us. It might be in Q1, it might be in Q2, and it may not be in Q4, but samples and coupons here can really get up the most ROI, bang for your buck.
Yeah, and then, looking at the partnerships, you can use those samples and coupons and see if there's a couple of other businesses in your area that you can trade with, right? Hey, here's some samples. Can you put these at your shop? And I'll take some of your discount codes or samples and I'll put them at mine, right? Get a handful that are like-minded, absolutely, and see if you can really spread the word for multiple businesses, right? Sharing the love this holiday season.
And that's, and that is a key one that I'm going to make as our honorable mention here, Tamara. You just made a huge point, which is, can you get a group of small businesses together to share the holiday joy and to, help market each other? And I think that that's another great option for small businesses looking to help each other.
We have had a lot of fun talking about this, but let's look at our key takeaways, right? So, number 1, know your buyer. Number 2, sales is not the only win. 3, co-branded campaigns, right? Like we just talked about, either partnerships or sharing the love. Number 4 would be nonprofits. Work with them this season. It's a great way to help other organizations and also get some notoriety yourself. Number 5, emotional response. And 6, sense of urgency. So those absolutely are the key. If you took nothing else, look at those when doing your campaigns. And so, we work with a lot of small and new organizations and established brands as well. But, SMBs are organizations that come to us a lot looking for advice during this time. So let's just summarize what a small business can do with this insight that we've given them. So sales may not make sense for the holiday season, right? People are inundated with marketing during this time of year. And for small brands, it can be so hard to break through the noise. Instead, try to set yourself up for big sales, launch in Q1 by running campaigns that bring in new fans without a purchase needed, right? That's what we talk about, thinking outside the box. So if you're a small or new business, sometimes it's better to think outside the box.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're an established brand, really start thinking through your buyer's sales cycle. Does it make sense for your buyer to buy your product at this time or even think about your product at this time? And if it's not, then instead of running this holiday campaign around sales, try to build a campaign that encourages community, an emotional response, or tradition, like the Starbucks red cup that we just campaign that we were just talking about.
Such a good case study.
Yeah, if you didn't watch that one, go back, watch it. We'll link it here. Maybe it encourages UGC, building brand trust, and then don't just rely on pricing, but a sense of urgency. So if you are going to do some sort of holiday campaign that has a pricing element, make sure there's a sense of urgency. Buy it today, buy it by the end of the week for this. You're not going to get a lower price all year, right? Some sense of urgency so that they're not just price matching around and waiting till the last minute for your campaign. So with that said, I think we said everything we could say on holiday marketing, Tamara.
I feel like, as the Grinch strategy goes, I feel like we really discourage social ads, but I know that there's the cases out there for doing it as a small business. But yeah, this is great. We are your fractional team. If you need any help, you can connect with us. Our link is in the summary below. Please, if you like the show, subscribe to us. And if you want the insight yourself, we made this into a deck for you. It's got our fractional situation report, as well as the highlights, the bullets, and some tools that you can utilize in order to create your own strategy. And we are What the Frac.